Hey everybody, Jake here, and today we're going to take a look at the CRKT folding Razel. This is a very interesting knife from CRKT that seems to be discontinued, and then they make it, and then they discontinue it again, and then they make some more, and I'm not sure what's happening, but here it is, and we're going to take a look at it today because it's currently still available at the time of this video. So let's go ahead and get into what I like about it, what I'm kind of neutral towards, and what I dislike about it. And I'll give my recommendations to whether or not you should buy this or completely forget it ever existed. So first up, let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. We'll go ahead and put the Razel down here. And I got the ZT-0450 CF here. So you can see that this knife seems very long overall, but the blade itself is fairly short. And that's mainly because of this Razel blade shape. I think they could have done it longer. We'll get into that. But the shape is very interesting, and that's kind of a big trademark of this blade. This is in collaboration with Graham Knives. He, I guess, kind of patented this blade shape. Here it is next to the Benchmade Proper. Much smaller knife. So that blade shape is pretty much entirely his as far as I know. Real Steel E77 there. So you can see this is a very large knife. It is big. And it is very thick and very wide. Last but not least, Real Steel G5 Metamorph. The only knife I really have in my collection that's about as long as this is. Now, one thing I do want to point out as well is this knife is very wide, which we will come back to. But here is next to the Benchmade Proper. Yeah, it's pretty darn big. Let's get into what I like about it. First thing up, the blade shape. So the main reason I bought this, and I think the reason a lot of people will buy this or have bought this, is the blade shape. So you'll notice it looks like a normal knife blade, you know, but then it comes up and there's no point. You can't really pierce anything with this knife conventionally. You can kind of push in with this corner and get some good slicing, but as far as actually stabbing into something, you're going to have a bad time. So the blade shape, though, to me is very interesting because it's kind of meant for scraping, as far as I can tell. Or if I need to really shallowly open a box, I can just dip that tip down in the tape and kind of guide it along with my finger, and it lets me get very precise cuts. Despite the size of this knife, I use it a lot for very detailed cutting or anything that I need to cut that's very delicate. I'll generally use this just because that point, that very small portion there, gives me a lot of control, especially when I'm holding it in this grip here. I can get a lot of control over that tip and how deep it goes and, where it slices exactly. So I like that a lot. The other big reason for me that I bought this are the scales. These are micarta. I love micarta. It is probably my favorite handle material of all time. I love it on the Benchmade Proper. I like it here. The Benchmade Proper has a bit more of a textured feel throughout compared to this top portion here, which is very slick. However, as you go down, you see these stripes. You can definitely feel the micarta there. And just for some added grip down here, they do give you some grooves, and these are very grippy. I don't feel like this is going to go anywhere when I'm holding it. Even that slick portion it's not prominent enough to be an issue. So the micarta is very nice, and it will wear with time. It'll age, and you'll get some characteristic going on from your hand oils and things like that. It's slightly hydroscopic, which means it will absorb a little bit of moisture. So it's going to be really good if your hands are sweaty or if you're in a wet condition. Micarta will grip it very well. The clip on this is fantastic. This is another Graham trademark. So this is the pocket clip. Now it does come with another pocket clip, which is just a tip down left side carry. This though, this is amazing. So this can be ambidextrous. You can carry it wherever the hell you want to. You can carry it in your shirt pocket or your back pocket. I wouldn't sit on this, but you can do it. It's whatever, it's your life. But this clip is great. And that is because it will slip over anything. It has great ramp. It's very unobtrusive, and it looks very small. I'll show you here with this microfiber cloth. you can kind of slip right up in there, and that's about what you see sticking out of your pocket. You know, you'll see a little bit, something a bit more like that. Like you'll see the top of the clip. That's it. That's as much as you see. Now I have heard that this clip can get bent. Not of Graham's customs or mid-tex, but this particular clip, and it does have a lot of spring to it. I could see that happening, but I haven't had any issues with it, and it's honestly my favorite clip I've ever seen on a knife ever. It's great. I freaking love this clip. It's very, very nice. It slots in the top here with these two screws, so if you want to remove it, you can just take those, pop that out, and then you can put in the slightly more interesting clip to fill in that interesting hole. The action on this is pretty good too. So when I first got it, it wasn't fantastic. I let it break in a little bit, and I put some nano oil on it, and now it opens very well. And it closes. It doesn't really drop shut. It will with some urging, but the closing action is very, very nice. There's no kind of grabbiness. It doesn't feel like it's slipping back and forth. It's pretty nice. I can feel a little tug when I'm going kind of back and forth from the Teflon washers. The plastic, nylon, whatever the hell you want to call them, they're a little annoying, but they're okay here. I honestly don't mind them a whole lot in this particular knife. Once you've got it open, and again, this is generally my go-to way of holding this knife because I'm usually using something like this, or maybe something like that. I generally engage this right here. This little handle here engages the LAWKS system, LAWKS. If you look right here, there's a little tiny bar. I'm going to lift this up, and you can watch that little bar go down. See there? So what that does is that prevents the liner lock from moving over. So now that this is up and that bar is actuated, you can't move that liner lock over at all. You can't do it. So what that means is when you have it and you're trying to use it for something, and you really, really don't want that lock to fail. Not that most locks ever do, but you really don't want this one to fail. You can engage that and it'll work just fine. Feel very safe when I use that. It's very, very nice. The thumb studs on here are great, in my opinion. They're domed at the top, very, very smooth. And then there's this kind of pattern going on. You can see here, there you go. And it just grips the thumb very, very well. It's very easy to open. It doesn't really hurt my thumb when I'm opening it. It doesn't dig in too badly like some of the more conical or stepped thumb studs. So it's very, very nice in my opinion. Really like the thumb studs on that. On to what I feel neutral about. First thing, ergonomics. So this knife, it does fit in your hand fairly well. Or my hand at least, here. When I have this clip installed, it doesn't work super great because I can't really get my pinky all the way down, because it digs in right there. Now, generally, again, when I'm holding this knife, I'm holding it like this, so that doesn't bother me a ton, but it's a thing. Maybe if you had super tiny pinkies, you could slot it in there. My pinky is not that small. I cannot. Just thought I'd mention it. I don't know why in the hell you would hold it like this, but holding it like this is a little more comfortable because my finger can kind of sit there. But no, just no. But yeah, it's fairly comfortable overall. It gives you a lot to hold on to, so it does feel very much like a tool, which knives, technically are a tool, but this feels very, very robust and very designed for work, if that makes any sense. The steel on this it doesn't say it on here, I don't blame it. It's HCR13 MOV. It's not a terrible steel. It's not great. It's better than your 440, better than your stainless steel, better than your surgical steel, better than 420. But it's not great. It won't hold an edge very long. You'll have to sharpen it frequently. It's a little soft. Now, I will say I don't entirely hate it here because this is kind of a working knife, so I assume if you're using this frequently, you're going to be okay with sharpening it anyway. And with it being as cheap as it is, you're not going to be too worried about damaging the blade. Maybe buy a couple of them if you really, really like them. the knife itself is uneven. And I'll show you that right here. So we'll set the knife down. You may be able to see that the liner on this side is thinner, about half the size. If I get it a little closer here, you can see that even better. The knife is uneven. This side is thicker than this side. So when you have the blade out, it sits a little more to the left. Is it a lot? No, but it's worth mentioning. So if that bothers you, you know. The blade on this is okay. I just touched on the blade shape. I love the blade shape, but as far as cutting, it's not going to slice super well. There appears to be a slight hollow grind on here, but it's not super slicey. That being said, it's okay. Again, this seems more of like a hard use, hard work kind of knife to me. So I can't complain about it a ton, I don't feel like. Last thing on the neutral side is the price. I picked this up for $25 or so, which isn't terrible. I think the micarta and the blade shape are worth it to me. There are a lot of detractors on this knife, which we're about to get into, though, and they kind of take away from that. That being said, you can get this currently for $22 on Blade HQ. They do have it in stock at the time of this video, so if you're interested in picking it up, it's not a terrible price. It could always be worse. On to what I dislike about the knife. First thing up, this knife is very, very thick. It is thick. It's ridiculous. I showed it compared to the Benchmade proper. Here it is against the ZT-0450CF. Much, much bigger. And here it is compared to the Spyderco Dragonfly. It's thick. It's like carrying 2 of most pocket knives in your pocket. It's big. It is a big, thick knife. This is not pleasant to carry in the pocket, apart from that beautiful, beautiful clip. This sucks. It is long, it is heavy, and it is big. And you notice that shit. It's very, very prominent, and it's very obvious. It does weigh a lot. I don't have exact specs here. Feel free to look them up. But it's there, and it's heavy. The centering on this is garbage. Now, let's see if you can get to see that. There you go. This pivot is as tight as it can be without directly affecting the action to where it's just garbage. So that's as centered as I can get it. I've tried switching the washers around. Maybe there might be different thickness, things like that. Nope, this is what you get, and it's garbage. There's very, very little clearance you can see there on this side of the knife. And to keep it from scraping, it's very delicate balance. Disassembling this knife is a massive, massive pain in the ass. And the blade is magnetized, actually. Speaking of, I don't know if this is related or not, but when you open it, I'll see if I can let you guys hear this. And close it. There's a little bit of resonance. I don't know if you can pick it up. It's kind of sing-songy. Let me see. Might be a little bit difficult to pick up on a microphone, but when you close or open this, it kind of rings for maybe a second or two. It is very, very, very annoying, I guess. It was interesting at first, now it's just pissing me off. But it's there. Fit and finish on this is just crap. The scales do not line up with the liners much at all. The finishing around the pivot hole is crap. This clip hole is, you can still see machining marks. It's kind of gunked up. It's not great. Fit and finish on this is just poor. Very, very poor. Speaking of fit and finish, when I got this knife, it would not lock up very well. You can see now it's about 50% lockup. That's because I took a Dremel and knocked down the lock face on the blade. So before that, it was coming over to maybe 5% on a good day. On a bad day, it would get to about here, and I could literally close the blade. That's after opening it. If you slowly opened it, it did that every single time. Now, I bought one of these knives for my older brother when I first got it. I got me one and him one. His had the exact same issue. Absolute garbage. His centering was also worse than mine. It was literally scraping the liner. So that's just ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, this hole left by the clip is very interesting. I'll leave that to your imagination, but it's there, and once you see it, you can't really unsee it, and it's permanent unless you're left-handed, or you're like stabbing yourself in the thigh by carrying it, tipped down right side with a left side carry clip. Anyway, last thing, the lock bar. This lock bar, I've fixed a lot of issues on this knife that I can, but this lock bar sucks. It's terrible. It's very, very textured. I assume in gloves this would be just fine, but I don't wear gloves. It's very difficult to move over compared to every other knife I've ever handled, and it scrapes the crap out of my thumb. It hurts. Every single time I go to close that, it's just a little bit more pain, and it's every single time. It's just awful. On to the conclusion. This knife is interesting. It really is, but it's very poorly executed, and I kind of hate carrying it. As a collection piece, I love it. It's a very interesting handle pattern, interesting handle material, interesting blade shape, this is incredible to me. I would love to pick up one of Graham's Customs one of these days, or a mid-tech Razel. They're just out of my price range at the moment. But this, as a collection piece, is fine. As a user, I use it very little. I use it around the house like I would a wrench or a hammer or anything else like that. It kind of sits until I need it. I don't carry it around my pocket with me, but I know it's there. So I would say try it if you can. Might be for you, might not. I think it has a lot of interesting things going on, and I think CRKT, as usual, gets very interesting designs and then proceeds to crap all over them. I would love to have picked this knife up a little thinner, a little better fit and finish, better centering, better execution in general at about $100. I would love it. I don't mind the size on any dimension except the thickness. The blade were made out of better steel, maybe titanium liners. I could see this being a great knife, but at the moment, it's really not. So try it out. It's interesting. Beyond that, I wouldn't waste my time on it. So that's about it for today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to check out my other stuff. If you like this, I will be doing more knife videos, along with the pin videos that I typically do, and some other EDC-related stuff. So feel free to subscribe. I would love it if you did, and thanks for watching. Bye, guys.